Okay, welcome to Tutorial 4, Review Assignment in Access 2013. This chapter deals with forms and reports, two objects that are somewhat similar in the way they behave. Forms in general are used to input data, to edit data. It's the user interface is probably the best way to think of it. Reports, on the other hand, are generally used for print purposes. Typically a table or a query data can be formatted to look nice to be printed out on a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper is kind of the general idea of a report. As far as how they behave, though, in the software is very similar. So we'll tackle both of those at kind of an elementary level here in this chapter. And so first thing we want to do is reopen the vendor database that we had used to accomplish the Tutorial 3 assignments. So go to our folder, review folder, and vendor is what we're looking for. Get that opened up, and what you should see are the queries that you did back in Tutorial 3. Okay, first things first. The second step is to create a form using a wizard. We will use the wizard to create a form here, and then I think when we go to Chapter 6, if I remember correctly, we'll do custom forms where you don't use a wizard. So this chapter kind of focuses on the simpler aspects. Okay, so to get started, one thing to pay attention to, if you have a table selected or a query selected, not necessarily open, but just selected, when you go up here and do create, and then you'll see there's a number of ways to create forms. Wizard is what we're going to use this time. Whatever you have selected over here, when you start the wizard, is what it's going to show. So it's going to show that as the data source. So for example, if I start the wizard right now, you'll see that whatever query I had selected is what's showing here. Make sure that you have the right data source, and in this case we're trying to do a form based on the product table. So make sure you have product displayed up here, and then here you'll see all the fields that are available in the product table, and then whichever fields you actually want to be part of your form, you move over into this section. This of course would move all fields in the default order. If you want to move individual fields in an order other than what the default is, you can either double click them or use the single arrow after you selected the field. So in this case we want to create a form that does select all fields from the form. So the easiest thing to do is just to click that double arrow. That moves all the fields over, and then you choose next. And it tells us to use columnar, so we'll choose columnar as the layout. If you click on these, you can kind of see it gives you a little graphic of what you might kind of expect to see when it's ultimately done. So we choose columnar, and then I think we want the title to be product data, and the reason that you put this with no spaces is this is going to create the title for your form, but it also is going to save it with whatever name you put here. And so remember that we always want to name objects with no spaces. So you put no space in there and then hit finish like that, and then you'll see it pop up over here in the navigation pane. Now eventually the title itself, we will change that and put a space in between there. So it kind of serves two purposes in the wizard. It creates the title and the name, and you do want those to be different in some cases. Okay, so that was step 2. Step 3, we want to apply the facet theme, and themes work in Access similar to the way they do in other programs. If you want to apply a theme to anything, I think the easiest thing to do is to change to layout view. So I usually just right click up here on the tab and choose layout view. When you're in layout view, you have all these tabs up here that enable you to proceed with formatting and adding objects and things of that sort. In this case, we want the theme to be applied to just this one object, and there it is. Facet is the second one in. Don't click that. What you should do is right click and do apply to this object only, like that.